Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our next literacy lesson. We're going to be learning another skill that we're going to be using to write a recount. So I'm going to share my screen so that we can get started. So to warm ourselves up this morning, I would like you to have a look at these sentences below. Look out, I heard someone scream. She shouted, run for your life. Duck, he yelled, you need to duck. Can you please put those sentences or rewrite those sentences using the correct speech punctuation? Remember, you need speech marks, capital letter, find the speech, punctuation, and your final speech marks to close it. So you can first identify the reporting clause. Who said it? For example, in the first one, it said, look out, I heard someone scream. So I heard someone scream is who said it and how they said it. So that's my reporting clause, which means my speech marks goes around the other bit. All right, and then I'm going to go back. I'm going to check for a capital letter, punctuation. All right, so leaving that one there, off you go. Pause the video and rewrite those sentences using correct speech punctuation. Okie dokie. So let me just rub this out. I'm going to edit these sentences now. So the first one, okay, I sort of gave you a big hint. So I need my speech marks, capital letter, look out is the speech. So I need punctuation now. I could do an exclamation mark. I could do a comma. I'm going to go with an exclamation mark because they're screaming. Speech marks. Look out, I heard someone scream. Perfect. She shouted, run for your life. So which bit is the reporting clause? Well, she shouted. That's who said it and how they said it. So my speech marks goes around the rest of it. Run for your life. Now going back, I need capital R, speech, and I need punctuation. I could do run for your life. Could have, again, a exclamation mark, or it can have a full stop. Now, we don't normally put full stops in speech. Can you remember why I'm allowed to do it here? Because it's the end of a sentence. But because my speech comes after my reporting clause, I need to go back. What do I need to add? A comma. She shouted, run for your life. Fantastic. And my last one had 2 bits of speech. So did you find the reporting clause? He yelled. That tells me who said it and how they said it, which means I've actually got 2 bits of speech. I've got speech marks, capital letter. I need punctuation at the end. It needs to be a comma because it is not the end of a sentence, followed by speech marks. And then he yelled. I now have another bit of speech. So I have speech marks, capital letter, speech, punctuation, and speech marks. And because it was not the end of a sentence, I need to go back and put in a comma there. All right, so well done if you got that all correct. If you did not, or I'm even spotting, actually, this is the start of a sentence, so it should be capital letter. If you did not get that correct, please go back and fix it up so you know what the correct answer was. But if you did, let's move on. So dialogue. Today we are focusing on dialogue in our recount. Now, in a recount, dialogue should only be used to describe sort of what is happening. Okay, so we don't want like long conversations between people. It's not a story. We're not going to have a long discussion between 2 characters before a tsunami hits. No, we only use our dialogue to move the story forward, move the recount forward, to describe what is happening. So if it doesn't do that, if it's just long and waffly for no reason, don't put it in. All right, so let's have a look at our original text and see if we can see where the speech is and how does it show us what's happening. It says, then something happened. Suddenly the sea darkened and it seemed to be rushing backwards towards the horizon. Danger! Everybody run! I heard a man yell down the beach before he started sprinting back inland. In the distance, what seemed to be a huge wall of water was quickly moving towards us. I had no idea what was happening. James grabbed my hand and shouted, run. So, did you spot the speech? We've got 2. We've got danger, everybody run, and again later, run. Now, what is the point of this speech? What does it do? How does it help you picture what is happening? So if you'd like some time to think, you can pause the video. Now, here where it says danger, everybody run, this does 2 things. It shows me that the person is panicked, screaming danger, exclamation marks, and he's yelling it. But also, I now know everybody starts sprinting because he says everybody run. So I can picture in my head everybody running away. Okay. And in the second, again, it's a short, sharp bit of sharp bit of speech, which again tells me it moves that it puts action into the story. Now I can picture or visualize people running because he grabbed my hand and shouted, run. So the purpose here is to tell me what is happening. Okay. It's not a long waffly. James isn't saying, are you okay? We should probably get out of here. No, it's a really panicked, short, sharp bit of dialogue that tells me what the characters are doing. Okay, so let's have a look at two examples of dialogue in a recount, and I'd like you to tell me which is better, which bit of the recount. So the first one doesn't have any speech and the second one does, and tell me how it's better. So the first one says, suddenly the ground began shaking and bookshelves shook perilously, threatening to tip over. I heard a man screaming before he started sprinting out of the building. Overhead, panels of the ceiling started falling down. I had no idea what was happening. James grabbed my hand and we ran out of the building. That's the first one. Now let's see what it sounds like once you've got a bit of speech in there. It says, suddenly the ground began shaking and bookshelves shook perilously, threatening to tip over. Look out, everybody get out, I heard a man yell before he started sprinting out of the building. Overhead, panels of the ceiling started falling down. I had no idea what was happening. James grabbed my hand and screamed, cover your head, run. So, what is the point of the dialogue here? How has it aided or improved this piece of writing? So if you have a partner, I'd like you to pause the video and discuss with them, why does it make it more effective? If you don't have a partner or somebody nearby you can talk to, you can just pause the video and have a think to yourself. Once you've done that, you can come back and press play. Alrighty, so by having this dialogue, by having this in here, I can actually get a visual of what people are doing. Look out, everybody get out. So now I'm picturing people rushing towards the door, not just this man, because I heard a man screaming and he started sprinting out of the building here. Well, that just tells me he's running away. But now, having something like, look out, everybody get out. Well, now I'm imagining that everybody is rushing towards the door. So it shows me what the characters or people in the story are doing. And further, we've got James grabbed my hand and screamed, cover your head and run. So instead of just, he grabbed my hand and we ran, like it's a jog, like, oof, off we go. No, cover your head. So now I'm picturing as they're running, they've got their hands over their head because they know that if something falls on their head, it's really dangerous. Okay, so the speech can tell me what is happening to the people who are experiencing this terrible event. It really gives me a picture of what they're doing. It helps me visualize. It helps me understand how dangerous this situation is. So we're going to use our knowledge that speech needs to tell us what the character or what is happening to the person in the story. We're going to use that to help rewrite this. So I've got some speech in here, but it's not really effective. Can you tell me why? Let me read it. With a deafening crash, part of the ceiling collapsed. Everything was chaos. Ahmed grabbed my hand and shouted, "We're in danger." I was terrified. People were running in all directions. What should we do? I screamed back. Can anybody tell me why this dialogue is not effective? You can pause the video, say it out loud, say it to a partner. Have a think. Why is this not effective? Okay, well, it's not effective because it's telling me how the character is feeling, not really what they're doing. We're in danger. I was terrified. Like he shouted, "We're in danger." Great. I already knew that. The ceiling was about to collapse on you. It doesn't really add anything. And then the next bit, "What should we do?" I screamed back. Well, yeah, I understand now you're confused, but again, it's not the most effective dialogue for a recount because I'm getting no idea of what's going on for you. What are you doing as you're screaming it? So we're going to just rewrite or have a think or brainstorm about what kind of dialogue we could say here that was better. Okay, so in my book, let me come across to my book. Okay, I've got the date. Bit sad about this, made a mistake. So I'm going to write down some dialogue. So the first person that spoke was Ahmed. Okay, so if I go back to the original, it says, "Oh, Ahmed grabbed my hand and shouted, 'We're in danger.'" Okay, so Ahmed grabbed my hand. Remember, it's first person. My hand and shouted. And I'd like you to think now, before it's your turn, I need a comma, speech marks. What could he say that shows what he's doing, what we're doing? Remember the ceiling is collapsing, everything is chaos. What could Ahmed say instead of we're in danger? Or maybe he could say we're in danger, and we can add to that, okay? So it's going to be my turn, your turn. I'm going to write something, then it's going to be yours. Ahmed grabbed my hand and shouted, I'm going to keep that bit of speech, but I'm going to add to it. Where we are in danger, let's get out of here. So now I actually know that the characters are going to be on the move. Speech, punctuation, speech marks. Okay. Ahmed grabbed my hand and shouted, we're in danger, let's get out of here. So that, the next bit says, what should we do? I screamed back. Okay, so now that doesn't seem appropriate. So it's going to be your turn now. I would like you to rewrite this sentence. Ahmed grabbed my hand and shouted. Your turn. What is he going to shout that shows moving the story forward or showing me what the characters are doing? And I'd like you to then add a bit of speech. What does the next person say? What are you going to shout back? Maybe cover your head. I screamed at him as we ran through the store. Or duck, because something's falling. Duck, I shouted as the shelves collapsed around us. Okay, so I'd like you to do those two bits of speech. I'd like you to write Ahmed and something that you say back. So Ahmed, if you don't want to write Ahmed, you can just use my one. We're in danger, let's get out of here. So you can write that in your book. And then what are you going to say back to Ahmed? What is going to happen in your book? Once you've done that, you can come back and press play. All right, my lovely. So hopefully you wrote something back that you would shout back to Ahmed. So maybe I would say, Ahmed said, we're in danger, let's get out of here. Cover your head. Let me check. Speech marks, speech, punctuation, speech marks. I shouted, and remember we want to be saying action in our reporting clause. I shouted as the shelves tumbled down around us. Okay, so in your book you should have two sentences, one from Ahmed saying something and what you might respond with. Excellent. So let's move on. So we've got a few things. We're going to have a bit of a we're going to have a bit of brainstorm now. This is an image. You're going to imagine that you're in a supermarket and an earthquake starts, and you can actually see what might happen with an earthquake. Here, they've got bottles, smashed things. I'd like you to imagine you're in the supermarket, everything's moving, the ground is shifting underneath you. What things might be appropriate? What dialogue might be appropriate in a situation like this? So it is a think task. You don't have to write it down. It's a think task, but I would like you to pause the video, talk to somebody in your house, discuss what might you say with them, maybe do a bit of back and forth. I say this, you say that, okay? Have a think. What might you say? What might you scream out as an earthquake starts? Take cover, for example, might be a good one. So I'd like you to pause the video, talk to somebody in your house, or out loud, I would like you to say what sort of things you could use as dialogue here. Once you've done that, come back and press play. Okay, hopefully you came up with, maybe you could say things like, take cover, the ceiling's collapsing, watch out. Cover your head and run would be a really lovely one. Don't slip in the, I don't know what that is, oil. Watch out for the glass, for example. Okay, don't step on the glass. Or let's get out of here is a lovely one. Okay, so hopefully you came up with some things that we could say. Let's try another one. Imagine you're walking down the road and an earthquake starts and this happens. You can see the road is literally ripping apart as you're standing on it. What things might you say here? Okay, so what dialogue could we use that's effective? We can't say something like, I'm terrified, or what should we do? Because that doesn't really tell me anything about what's happening to the characters. Okay, so again, pause the video, talk to a partner, or talk out loud. What dialogue could we use for this picture? Once you've done that, come back and press play. Okie dokie. Well, hopefully, maybe you could say things like run, for example, jump before it rips open. Okay, we have to get away from this, for example, would be a lovely one. Watch your feet, don't trip over. Okay, so all of those things would be appropriate dialogue that we could use if the road started ripping as we were walking down it. All right, so what we're going to do today for our main activities, we're going to use these two pictures, and you're going to choose a picture and you're going to write a little paragraph that includes two pieces of speech. Okay, so you're either in a supermarket when an earthquake hits, or you're walking down the road and the road starts ripping apart. Okay, so you're going to write a little paragraph that has two lines of dialogue. Okay, so I'm going to, for example, do the road ripping. Okay, you can do the supermarket or the road ripping. That's completely up to you. Okay, so I'm going to come to my book. I don't want my teacher to know that this is the same thing, so I'm going to write here task 2. So I know it's a separate task. Okay, so I'm going to describe the whole scenario. So I don't just want to start with the speech. I want to set the scene and tell the reader what's happening. Okay. As we walked down the road, there was a horrible rumbling sound and the ground, whoops, didn't mean to hit my camera there, the ground began trembling under my feet. And you could either be with somebody or you can be by yourself, completely up to you. There was a horrible rumbling sound and the ground began trembling under my feet. Suddenly, it is a fronted adverbial, extra information. Suddenly, the road cracked. I'm going to leave that as a nice short sentence. Suddenly the road cracked. The sound of cement splitting. Maybe you could say like it really hurt my ears. The sound of cement splitting rent, that means to rip apart, rent the air and sent a shiver of fear down my spine. Okay, so now I've set the scene. I'm afraid, if we read it back, it says, as we walked down the road, there was a horrible rumbling sound and the ground began trembling under my feet. Suddenly, the road cracked. The sound of cement splitting rent the air and sent a shiver of fear down my spine. Now, the road's about to crack, so I need some dialogue to show what's going to happen. So I'm going to use speech marks, capital letter. We have to get off the road. Speech marks, capital letter, speech, punctuation. It seems like appropriate to have an exclamation mark because it's something you'd scream. Speech marks. And now I need a reporting clause to say who said it and how they said it. And it could be you or somebody you're with or just a random person who was nearby you. We have to get off the road. I screamed and grabbed, I'm going to imagine I'm with my sister, grabbed my S-I-S-T-E-R, I can spell sister, by the arm. Okay, so I've got my first bit of speech. I've said it, so now somebody's going to respond, or a random's going to shout something else. Okay, so we have to get off the road. I screamed and grabbed my sister by the arm. She could say something back like run, or watch out, because something comes up in front of me. Okay, so I screamed and grabbed my sister by the arm. Speech marks. Watch out. Speech marks, capital letter, speech, punctuation, speech marks. Watch out, I don't want screamed again, because I've already said it. She shouted as the road opened up in front of us. And then I'm just going to say what we did, okay? We threw ourselves in the other direction away from the giant cracks in the road. Okay. So I'm just going to double check my dialogue. Let me check. Speech marks, capital letter, speech, punctuation, speech marks, reporting clause. Excellent. Let me check my other one. Speech marks, capital letter, speech, punctuation, speech marks, reporting clause. Fantastic. So it is your turn now. I would like you to pause the video. You are going to write one paragraph with 2 bits of dialogue as though you are in the supermarket or as though you're walking down the road and this big sort of split, this ground ripping happens. Okay, before you do that, just a reminder, said is dead. Here are some suggestions you can use. However, I mean, imagining that this is quite dangerous, you're going to be using things like yelled, screamed, and being very loud, okay? But if you'd like, you can pause the video here, or you can pause the video here. I'd like you to write one paragraph. Once you've done that, please take a photo, upload it onto Cecil so that your teacher can give you feedback. All right, so that is the end of our lesson today. Please make sure that your paragraph ends up on Cecil for your teacher to give you feedback. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. I'll see you tomorrow when we're going to be learning another skill that we need for our writing of a recount. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow. Bye.